Chapter 2081. Because what the other party had was his beast mark. And this man named Zhuge Shirsan was able to survive until the end in that battle where he killed all the extraterrestrial experts. His strength was unknown. The demonic beasts contracted by his beast mark were naturally not below him in strength. Whoever could get his beast mark would really be rich. However, this beast mark inheritance was not very attractive to Luo Qingtong. After all, she already had the heaven and earth contract. With this contract, Luo Qingtong could even contract a divine beast if she wanted to. But Zhuge Shirsan's beast mark inheritance could only contract demonic beasts that were weaker than him in strength. This was too weak for Luo Qingtong. However, the demonic beasts contracted by Luo Qingtong's heaven and earth contract would be temporarily suppressed if the contractor's strength was weak. But Zhuge Shirsan's beast mark inheritance did not have this restriction. As long as the demonic beasts were below his level, he could contract and control them. And the demonic beast's strength would not be restricted at all. In other words, even if an ordinary person obtained his beast mark inheritance, as long as he could contract a powerful demonic beast, he could use this demonic beast's strength to beat others. Comparing these two, in the long run, the heaven and earth contract was naturally better. But in the short run, Zhuge Shirsan's beast mark inheritance could play a greater role. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong decided to accept this beast mark inheritance. After all, with her current strength, she really needed to improve. As for his last wish, if there was a chance in the future, she would naturally fulfill it for him. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong immediately reached out to the package that Zhuge Shirsan's corpse was holding. This package was in the arms of Zhuge Shirsan's corpse. The latter's head was lowered, and his hands were tightly crossed as he hugged the package tightly. Obviously, this package was his belongings. At the same time, it was also where the beast-taming incantation and inheritance was. This Zhuge Shirsan was also a talent to be able to improve such a beast-taming incantation. Luo Qingtong came for the 5th beast-taming incantation. However, he did not expect that the best thing was not that, but the cultivation method improved by Zhuge 13. If she guessed correctly, the 5th beast-taming incantation and the first 4 beast-taming incantations would only be the beast-taming incantation practiced by the Zhuge family. It was far inferior to the spell improved by Zhuge 13. The spell improved by the latter was a weaker version of the heaven and earth contract. To be able to do this, Zhuge 13 was indeed a rare genius. His position in the Zhuge family must not be weak. It was a pity that he had died here. Who knew what the sector beast he had been talking about was? It actually attracted so many foreign experts to fight over it. Furthermore, none of these people had leaked any information. Did they really value this sector beast that much? Luo Qingtong's mind was racing. However, the movements of his hands did not stop at all. Whoosh. She grabbed the black package and pulled it out of Zhuge Shirsan's body and held it in her hand. "Let's go," she said to Yunxi and Little Pig. The people from the beast-taming valley and the celestial palace were still outside. She had to leave while the giant blood-red shadow was holding them back. Chapter 2082. Translations, Qing Tong be careful. Yun Shi and the great Yong Saint corpse puppet stood nearby, watching Luo Qingtong study the murals and words. Although they didn't know what those things were. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Luo Qingtong seemed to be studying something. She didn't dare to disturb Luo Qingtong, so she stood there motionless. Little Pig had already lifted the veil on the great Yong Saint corpse puppet's head and poked his head out from the puppet's arms, looking at the murals and words on the wall. He didn't have the blood eyes like Luo Qingtong, which could restore the images on the murals. After studying for a long time, he could vaguely make out some things. Suddenly, he swept his gaze around and saw a huge ball of light that seemed to be alive. This seems to be. He widened his eyes, trying his best to distinguish the appearance of this ball of light. Then he heard Luo Qingtong's voice calling for them to leave. He was just about to ask Luo Qingtong to wait. Then he looked up and saw a scene that made him extremely shocked. Quick! Get out of the way. He hopped his little hooves and hurriedly shouted at Luo Qingtong. His voice and Yun Shi's screams sounded at almost the same time. When Luo Qingtong saw the sudden change in their expressions, she immediately felt that something was wrong behind her. Bang! Her figure suddenly flashed and dodged to the side. Then, a huge crater was blasted open on the ground where she had been standing. The waves of power that had burst out from the hole were extremely violent. The strong wind and gravel that flew in all directions cut her skin like sharp blades. In just an instant, several bloody wounds appeared on Luo Qingtong's body and face. Such a violent force, such a terrifying power, just the aftermath alone was enough to injure Luo Qingtong. And this was under the circumstance that she had clearly dodged the attack. The girl's expression instantly turned grave. Venerable realm. Sensing the power in the air that could almost break all laws, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. This power carried the aura of a power above the venerable realm. Although it was only a trace, it carried a destructive power. This was a power of another level, far above the Saint realm. It was far from being comparable to any power in the Saint realm. Any power above the Sage realm, including the Holy Venerate realm, appeared insignificant in front of this wisp of power. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. She looked behind her. Behind where she had just stood, the corpse that had been sitting on the futon suddenly stood up. Its head slowly lifted slowly, revealing a greenish-black and shriveled face. Its eyes were only flickers with a ruthlessness and ferociousness. In corpse. The corpse puppet's body Zhuge Shursan had been transformed into a corpse. Moreover, it was an extremely formidable Yin corpse that was able to emit a trace of an Exalt realm aura. Just how strong was the other party previously? It was said that after a corpse transformed into a Yin corpse, it only had 1/10 of its original strength or even less. This Zhuge Shursan's corpse had obviously just been transformed. But the aura and strength revealed by this clubhouse was already comparable to that of the venerable realm. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. She could clearly feel the impending crisis. Chapter 2083. But how did Zhuge Shursan's corpse suddenly turn into a Yin corpse? When Luo Qingtong approached it, it was still motionless. And Luo Qingtong's blood eye did not detect any abnormalities. How did it change so suddenly? But when Luo Qingtong approached the corpse, she also felt a little strange. Zhuge Shursan's corpse had been dead for a long time in this cave. Logically speaking, it should have been eroded by the aura of the land of the deceased immortals and turned into a Yin corpse. How could there be no movement? But at that time, she only thought that Zhuge Shursan had some way to prevent himself from turning into a Yin corpse, so she did not pay much attention to it. After all, under the investigation of her blood eye, the corpse was indeed just a corpse, and there was no trace of abnormalities. She did not expect it to change in an instant. Luo Qingtong frowned. Suddenly, she thought of the transparent door that she had blasted open. Could it be that the existence of the seal prevented Zhuge Shursan's corpse from being eroded by the aura of the land of the deceased immortals? Then she blasted open the seal, and the aura of the outside poured in, and then Zhuge Shursan's corpse was affected? Luo Qingtong thought about it and felt that this was probably the only reason that made sense. But she also felt that something was wrong. But now she did not have time to think about it. After the Yin corpse transformed from Zhuge Shursan's corpse stood up completely, it suddenly screamed and pounced on Luo Qingtong. Boom! The wind that it pounced on was like a sharp blade, and the direction of the wind was enough to turn into a blade and cut people into pieces. Luo Qingtong's face was cold, and she immediately jumped up when it pounced on her. Bang! The Yin corpse that Zhuge Shursan transformed into missed its target. It had just finished its transformation and its bones were still very stiff, so its movements were not very fast. Luo Qingtong relied on her eye technique to barely dodge its attack. But when it transformed a little more, its bones would become more adapted to its body movements, and its lethality would increase exponentially. Bang! At this moment, Luo Qingtong's attack came down. Annihilation. As soon as she made her move, she immediately used her strongest attack without holding back at all. This was a Yin corpse that could use the power of an exalt realm. Luo Qingtong would never be so arrogant as to joke with her own life. Death Blade Power. Soul of Myriad Flames. Luo Qingtong's sword light instantly became as dark as ink. The black sword radiance was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. It drew a cold and murderous arc in the air and slashed toward Zhuge Shirsan's corpse. At the same time, the power of the soul of myriad flames in her body burst out in an instant. Along with the light from the sword, countless colors of flames clustered around the black sword light. It embellished the terrifying sword light that seemed to have come from the nether realm with a myriad of colors, and it was extremely magnificent and gorgeous. More than 10 kinds of flames tangled together, and around the black sword light, beautiful flowers bloomed one after another. It carried a terrifying power that could burn people into flames, or freeze people into cold flames, and it blasted toward the Yin corpse in front. The power of annihilation dissolved and transformed the power around the Yin corpse, and finally transformed it into its own attack power. Chapter 2084. This was an attack to pay someone back in their own coin. The stronger the opponent, the stronger the opponent. Boom. The sword light ruthlessly slashed at the Yin corpse that Zhuge Shirsan had transformed into, instantly creating intense sparks. However, the Yin corpse was completely unharmed. The attack that carried wisps of venerable realm aura blasted on its body did not even leave a scratch on its skin. This won't do. Little Pig jumped from the great Yong corpse puppet to Luo Qingtong's body at this moment. He stared at Zhuge Shirsan's corpse that was roaring madly and pouncing towards Luo Qingtong. This Yin corpse's strength is too strong. To be precise, Zhuge Shirsan's strength was too strong when he was alive. I guess he's at least a green venerable realm expert. This little bit of venerable realm aura won't be able to break through his defense. Green venerable realm? Was that the level of strength above the venerable realm? Luo Qingtong's brows slightly furrowed, but she did not have the time to ask Little Pig about this matter. Because at this moment, 2 wild roars suddenly came from somewhere behind her. He saw that in a dark corner of the cave, 2 roaring Yin corpse monster beasts slowly walked out of it. Their wide-open mouths had already rotted, revealing the eerie white bones. Their bodies were shriveled and greenish-black. They were almost as thin as skeletons. However, the strength around them was abnormally strong. Venerable Realm. Luo Qingtong looked at the 2 Yin corpse beasts that were walking out, and the light in her eyes became even more serious. A Yin corpse that could use a trace of Venerable Realm strength and 2 Yin corpse beasts. No, not 2. Not far from the 2 Yin corpse beasts that were walking out, the other 2 Yin corpse beasts also roared madly and staggered to their feet. Their wild and ferocious roars shook the entire depths of the cave. 4 Yin corpse beasts, and all 4 of them had the strength of Venerable Realm. Luo Qingtong's eyes became extremely serious. Little Pig's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Oh my god. Is there a need to be so exaggerated? With this lineup, who the hell can take away the thing that the beast-taming Kings Valley people want? *CK. If they knew earlier, they wouldn't have stopped the beast-taming Kings Valley people from coming in to take this damn thing. It's better to let them come in. At that time, everyone would die. How convenient it would be. It would also save us from being trapped. Thinking of this, Little Pig cursed in his heart. Those bastards from the beast-taming Kings Valley, they've really killed me. When Luo Qingtong heard its words, her heart skipped a beat. She seemed to have thought of something but she could not grasp it. Then a series of wind-breaking sounds rushed out from within. Bitch. Beast-taming King Gu Guju and the others appeared in this stone room. They immediately pounced on Luo Qingtong. Their eyes were bloodshot. They couldn't see anything except for Luo Qingtong. They didn't even notice the scene in the depths of the cave. That bitch. Beast-taming King Gu Guju's heart was filled with hatred. It wasn't easy for them to get rid of that huge blood shadow. They lost several high-level experts because of it. Every time one of them died, beast-taming King Gu Guju's heart would bleed. Luo Qingtong, that bitch, he wanted her to die without a burial place. I'm mentally and physically exhausted from the cold. Sorry I sent the wrong chapter to you earlier. With the purchase of treasures, the word fixed is the correct chapter. The book coins won't be deducted again. This chapter is the compensation for the extra chapters. I'm really sorry. Chapter 2085. When Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others rushed into the depths of the cave, the four corpse beasts had also finished their transformation. They roared and rushed toward Luo Qingtong. Their bodies were like whirlwinds, and the holy venerate strength around them stirred up the spiritual qi in the cave, causing it to surge and vibrate continuously. Roar! As they rushed toward Luo Qingtong, Zhuge Shursan's corpse tore apart Luo Qingtong's annihilation and Soul of Myriad Flames attacks. It then tore apart the energy storm around it and rushed toward Luo Qingtong. A pincer attack from all sides. This moment of crisis was unprecedented for Luo Qingtong. Ever since she transmigrated to this strange world, she had never encountered such a critical moment. All of her paths of coming, going, and retreating were sealed. If it were someone else, they might have already collapsed in despair. In front of Luo Qingtong was Zhuge Shursan's corpse, and to her left and right were the four corpse beasts. Behind her were Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, who were attacking her like malicious spirits. They had ferocious expressions and wanted to kill her at any moment. In this kind of crisis and perilous situation, anyone else would have died. She couldn't move forward, she couldn't retreat, she couldn't even dodge. At this moment, Little Pig's expression was extremely solemn. Its face, which was usually mischievous and unreliable, now looked indescribably dignified and solemn. If it really didn't work, he would have to take action. Since Luo Qingtong's strength had increased, Little Pig had been able to use the strength of his main body after sleeping for a long time in the 9-layered exquisite pagoda. These four corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's corpse were not difficult for him. But the bad thing was that this place was not right. Just like how Yi Qianxian couldn't enter this place, and if he forced his way in, the scene would collapse. Little Pig was the same. If he used his main body's strength, the scene in the graveyard of immortals would immediately collapse and disappear. Didn't Luo Qingtong enter this place to gain experience and obtain treasures? Now that he finally got the news, Little Pig naturally wouldn't use his strength unless it was absolutely necessary. As for Luo Qingtong, when Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others rushed in, she had already guessed who they were. She didn't expect Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others to be able to avoid the huge blood-colored shadow and rush into the depths of the cave. Luo Qingtong's face was slightly surprised, but the light in her eyes suddenly lit up. Such a pincer attack from four sides was an extremely thrilling situation for anyone. But for Luo Qingtong this was a rare chance. If Luo Qingtong's, she would Luo Qingtong's corpse beasts, and Zhuge Shursan's corpse. After all, she could still barely avoid Zhuge Shursan's corpse. But with the addition of four corpse beasts, she wouldn't even have the chance to escape. At that time, she would have no other choice but to ask Little Pig to take action. But now that Beast Tamer King's Valley's people had arrived, they became her best shield. The Beast Taming King Valley's Valley Master and the others were truly noble and virtuous. It wasn't easy for them to get rid of that gigantic blood-colored shadow, but now they were rushing over to block the disaster for her. They were simply too good to her. Chapter 2086. She had to leave quickly so that the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others would not be in vain. As she thought of this, her lips suddenly curled up. Then she pulled Yunxi and leaped up. In that instant, her eyes burst with a blazing light. The blood-red light filled Luo Qingtong's eyes. The blood-red pupils kept spinning. Very quickly, the sky was filled with blood-red light from a certain point in the eye. It instantly radiated in all directions and dyed the whites of Luo Qingtong's eyes red. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's eyes were blood-red. Her aura was domineering and evil. She was like a blood-red demon god that rose from the dark night. She was extremely evil and charming. In her eyes, all the trajectories and attack directions of the pincer attack from all directions were rapidly evolving in her eyes. Countless lines and lights flitted across her eyes. Countless possibilities were demonstrated. Finally, she chose the best route of evasion. Boom! Luo Qingtong's figure leaped up in an instant. Driven by her thoughts, the undead hag beside her also leaped up with her in an instant. Boom! Luo Qingtong's figure leaped toward the top of the cave. The depths of this cave were extremely large. The distance between the top of the cave and the ground was not short. It was enough for Luo Qingtong to leap up and avoid the attacks of the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. Swish swish swish. Luo Qingtong's figure made several turns in midair. Her figure did not move in a large arc in midair, but she still managed to avoid the attacks of the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. Naturally, the corpse puppet of the great Yong saint had contributed to this. Its figure had always been in front of Luo Qingtong, blocking all the aftershocks of the attacks. Bang! Luo Qingtong's figure flew to the top of the cave, and then flew behind beast tamer King Guguju and the others. After Luo Qingtong flew up, the latter and the others immediately faced Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse and the 4 Yin corpse beasts in front of her. Roar! The 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse were originally going for Luo Qingtong, but now that the girl had run away, they naturally targeted beast tamer King Guguju and the others who were closest to them. When the latter and the others heard the roars of the Yin corpses and the Yin corpse beasts, the reason that had been drowned in anger suddenly came back. Seeing the Yin corpses and Yin corpse beasts pouncing towards them, their faces were indescribably ugly. Damn it! Luo Qingtong, you bitch! You're using us as a shield again. Beast tamer King Guguju's face was like thunder. He had never thought that after rushing into the depths of the cave, what he would face was not the scene that he had imagined, where he would beat up Luo Qingtong and then torture her until nothing was left. Instead, there were 4 Saint Venerable Yin corpse beasts and 1 Yin corpse that could use the power of a Saint Venerable. Luo Qingtong, that bitch, used them to block the disaster again. Beast tamer King Guguju and the Celestial Palace Master were about to vomit blood. Why did they rush in here with all their might? Wasn't it to kill Luo Qingtong and get the things inside? Who would have thought that they would not get anything but block another disaster for Luo Qingtong? If they had known, they would not have rushed in and waited outside for Luo Qingtong to be killed. Bastard. Chapter 2087. The 4 Yin corpse beasts were menacing, not to mention the Yin corpse of Zhuge Shursan, who could use the strength of a venerable realm expert. Beast tamer King Guguju and the others were furious, but they did not dare to be negligent. Otherwise, with the formation of these 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses, it was enough to completely annihilate them here. They used all their strength to barely resist the attacks of the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses. But this was only temporary. When the joints of these 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses were completely softened and no longer stiff, their strength would soar again. At that time they would be miserable. While the people of Beast Tamer King's Valley were fighting against the Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses, Luo Qingtong took Yun Shi and rushed to the entrance of the cave. Taking advantage of the fact that Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others had not reacted and were still resisting the Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpse beasts, she had to leave here as soon as possible. Otherwise, when they reacted and did not need to stay in the cave, they would turn around and chase after them, and that would be troublesome. At that time, Luo Qingtong would not only have to deal with Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, but also the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse. As her figure rushed out, the corpse puppet of the great Yong saint followed closely behind her. Because its body was resisting the aftermath of the attacks of Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, who knew how many big holes were blasted in its body. Its whole body was in a mess. But fortunately, its limbs were not injured. Although its body was broken, it still firmly followed beside Luo Qingtong. The young girl glanced at it, thinking that after leaving here she must find some Yin corpses to nourish and restore its strength. Fortunately, she had increased the strength of this corpse puppet before, otherwise it would not have been able to resist the aftermath of the attacks just now. Luo Qingtong's jumping figure would also be affected by the attacks of Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. At that time, it would not be easy to avoid their attacks and let them collide with the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses. With this in mind, Luo Qingtong immediately rushed toward the entrance of the cave with Yun Shi in tow. However, just as she was about to reach the entrance of the cave, roar! A ferocious roar suddenly rang out. Then a huge blood-red figure pounced towards Luo Qingtong from the corner of the passage ahead. At this time, Luo Qingtong was rushing at full speed towards the direction of the light coming from the cave entrance. Since there was already light, it meant that the cave entrance was not far from the corner. However, who would have thought that the giant crimson figure would rush out at this moment? Luo Qingtong didn't have time to stop. Chapter 2088. Luo Qingtong's gaze fell on the crimson figure. She found that its originally formless body was now filled with blood, revealing itself in the air. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows at the solid body and the obvious wounds on it. So that's how it is. She was wondering how the people from Beast Taming King's Valley found a way to deal with this crimson figure so quickly. If they could find a way to deal with this crimson figure, they wouldn't have to gather so many people here and expose the location of Shattered Star Valley. It turned out that this crimson figure had sucked enough of their blood and chi, exposing itself. Now that it was exposed, the people from Beast Taming King's Valley could easily shake it off. And because its body was exposed, the physical attacks that didn't work on it before were now effective. No wonder the people from beast-taming King's Valley could shake it off and rush into the depths of the cave. But with this crimson figure blocking her way, she was in trouble. Luo Qingtong frowned. She watched as the crimson figure rushed towards her again. This crimson figure now had a solid body, and it was its own body. Its attacks were no longer limited to spiritual energy. Luo Qingtong frowned slightly as she watched it continue to grab her with its big hand. Bang! She leaped into the air, and the gigantic crimson figure grabbed nothing but air, creating a huge hole in the ground where she was standing. Then it roared again and tried to grab Luo Qingtong. The giant blood-red figure was a Holy Spirit realm expert, but its true strength was comparable to a Holy Venerate. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to force the beast-taming King Valley's Valley Master and the others into such a sorry state. After all, its spiritual energy attacks and possession were very difficult to deal with for beast-taming King Guguju and the others. Except for beast-taming King Guguju and a few others, the others basically couldn't resist its attacks. At this moment, because it was fed by beast-tamer King Guguju and the others, it had a physical body. Beast-tamer King Guguju and the others could easily escape, but Luo Qingtong was blocked because of its physical attack. Otherwise, with her ability to see through the blood-red figure and resist its mental attacks, she would have been able to kill it easily. At the very least, under the threat of the life blade, the other party could not block her path. But now, this huge blood-red figure had a physical attack, which made it difficult for Luo Qingtong to deal with. Keep an eye on her. Luo Qingtong tossed Yunxi to Little Pig and the Great Yong Saint corpse puppet to look after her. She turned around and opened her blood-red eyes to scan the cavern. The crimson shadow had been trapped in the cave before, which meant that its main body was in the cave. Luo Qingtong couldn't deal with the blood-red figure that had turned into a physical body. However, as long as he could find the location of its main body and crush the blood immortal jade bone, the transformation of the blood immortal jade bone would also be destroyed. Therefore, Luo Qingtong didn't panic when facing the attack of the blood-red figure. She was only worried that beast-tamer King Guguju and the others would catch up. But what she feared would happen. Just as Luo Qingtong's eyes were scanning the surroundings to find the main body of the blood-red figure and the location of the immortal jade bone. Chapter 2089. Beast-tamer King Guguju and the others were soon unable to resist the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses. The 4 Yin corpse beasts were Zhuge Shursan's contracted beasts when he was alive. They had guarded him until he fled here. Now that Zhuge Shursan's corpse had transformed into Yin corpses, their bodies had also transformed at the same time. After the initial stiff period, their movements became more and more nimble, and their coordination was simply terrifying. In addition, Zhuge Shursan's corpse could use the power of the Venerable Realm. For beast-tamer King Guguju and the others, it was a complete nightmare. After fighting against the Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses for a while, several of them were killed. Finally, beast-tamer King Guguju and the others could not hold on any longer. Soon after, they realized that they didn't have to force themselves to stay here. The good things here had obviously been taken away by Luo Qingtong. That slut had used them as a shield and had already run away. What were they still doing here? After reacting, beast-tamer King Guguju and the others hurriedly ran outside. At this time, Luo Qingtong had already found the location of the giant blood shadow's main body. The giant blood immortal jade bone was in the front right corner of the cave. The giant blood shadow would never have thought that a person like Luo Qingtong would exist in this world. A pair of blood-red eyes could see through thousands of things, and had already seen the location of its main body. After grabbing empty air with its 2 hands, it immediately roared and once again grabbed at Luo Qingtong. The huge arc and fierce wind created by the 2 hands surged like a tsunami, attacking Luo Qingtong from all directions. The huge force that exploded out was many times stronger than the one that grabbed at Luo Qingtong. Clearly, its repeated failures had finally caused it to be enraged. The girl in front of it was as small as an ant, but such a girl was able to dodge its attacks again and again. The giant blood shadow rushed at Luo Qingtong with large strides, its hands closed like a palm leaf fan. At this time, beast-tamer King Guguju and the others also rushed out from the passage behind Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong's slut. Seeing Luo Qingtong's figure, beast-tamer King Guguju and the others were startled at first, then they became furious. It was this slut who had just used them to block the disaster, causing them to be besieged by the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses. Bastard! The thing is with you. Beast-tamer King Guguju's face sinister. He looked at Luo Qingtong's hands. Because she was in a hurry to be, she did not put it into the trash ring. This black package was faintly stained with a trace of the same aura as the Yin corpse, not to mention that it was stained with dust. Obviously, this was the good thing that Luo Qingtong had obtained from the depths of the cave. This B*Teach had indeed taken advantage of the time when they were blocking the giant blood-red shadow to obtain the item. Fortunately, the giant blood-red shadow blocked her. Otherwise, wouldn't this B*Teach have escaped long ago? You can't live if you want to. Luo Qingtong, you probably didn't think that the giant blood shadow would block here, right? Beast Tamer King Guguju's face was sinister. They used their blood to feed the giant blood shadow, then went around it and rushed into the depths of the cave. Originally, they only wanted to rush over as quickly as possible and not waste any more time. Chapter 2090. Good. Beast Tamer King Guguju laughed heartily, the veins on his face were clearly visible. Sure enough, this is karma. Luo Qingtong, just wait for your death here. This slut, let's see how she'll escape now. Beast Tamer King Guguju led his men and charged towards Luo Qingtong. Not far behind them were the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse. Beast Tamer King Guguju looked at Luo Qingtong with an evil grin on his face. The latter had just let them take the blame, but this time they wanted to let her take the blame. Once they snatched the black package, they would let Luo Qingtong face the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse. They could use this opportunity to kill the giant blood shadow and escape. At that time, Luo Qingtong would become their scapegoat, taking the blame for them and finally die miserably. Beast Tamer King Guguju thought of this scene. His heart suddenly felt indescribably comfortable, and his footsteps quickened. The group's speed was already very fast, and now it was like a hurricane sweeping over. Meanwhile, Luo Qingtong was preparing to dodge the attack of the giant blood-colored shadow and rush to the corner that she had scouted out to destroy its main body. But now that Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others rushed out, her plan was obstructed. She was facing a pincer attack from 2 sides. No matter if she dodged or not, she would inevitably fall into danger. After all, behind Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others were the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse of Zhuge 13. The 4 Yin corpse beasts chased behind Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, almost to the sky or to the earth, omnipotent. Their 4 limbs were very strong, and almost from 4 directions they rushed towards Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. 2 of the Yin corpse beasts climbed on the walls on both sides of the cave, while the other 2 chased from the top of the cave. Their rotting big mouths opened and let out a deafening roar. Almost in an instant they chased from behind. Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse was at the forefront of the charge. The power of the venerable realm lingering around it became denser and denser, and its movements became faster and faster. Their transformation was becoming more and more perfect. Luo Qingtong was not sure that after avoiding the pincer attack of Beast Tamer King Guguju and the giant blood shadow, she could avoid the attacks of the 5 beasts. No, not to mention 5 Zhuge 13's Yin corpse, it was very difficult. Damn this situation, this was clearly a hell-level difficulty. Just as Little Pig had said, how could anyone who entered the Broken Star Valley take away Zhuge Shursan's belongings from the depths of the cave? It should be noted that the strongest people in the hidden world were only in the Venerable Realm. Even if there were Venerable Realm experts like the Temple Master of the Star Alliance, they could not enter the land of the deceased immortals, so how could they take the inheritance from Zhuge 13's Yin corpse? In this case, what was the meaning of leaving the inheritance? There must be a way to solve this problem. Since Zhuge 13 left the inheritance and sealed the entrance of the cave, he must have known that he would become a Yin corpse after death. If so, it was impossible that he did not take precautions. Otherwise, how could he let others take the inheritance he left behind? Wait. Chapter 2091. Inheritance? Beast Mark? Luo Qingtong looked at the black package in her hands and a thought flashed through her mind. Swoosh. Her figure flashed in an instant, and she dodged the hands of the huge crimson shadow in front of her that were grabbing at her. At the same time, her figure swayed. Her soft and slender waist was like a willow in the wind, flexible and elastic as she flashed through the air, evading the beast-taming King Valley's Valley Master and the others' attempts to grab her. Bitch. This was not the first time that the beast-tamer King Guguju and the rest had encountered such a situation. Luo Qingtong, this bitch, what was going on? How was she able to dodge their attacks at the right time? It was as if she had already seen through their thoughts. Sometimes, her figure seemed to collide into their attacks, but in reality, it was this kind of action that allowed her to dodge their following attacks. How was she able to do this? The beast-tamer King Guguju and the rest were indescribably shocked. If Luo Qingtong was stronger than them, No, she didn't need to be stronger than them. Even if her strength was similar to theirs, they wouldn't find it strange that she could do this. But Luo Qingtong's strength was clearly only at the Saint Emperor realm. A Saint Emperor realm expert. Such a person was like an ant in the eyes of the beast tamer King Guguju and the rest. They could easily kill her. But it was this cultivation that was like an ant in the eyes of the beast-taming King Valley Master and the others, but in Luo Qingtong's hands she displayed unbelievable strength. The beast-tamer King Guguju and the rest had never met someone like Luo Qingtong who had the strength of a Saint Emperor realm expert but was able to escape from the hands of the Saint Emperor realm experts and even the Saint Venerables. How was the other party's strength like a Saint Emperor realm expert? Even other holy venerate powerhouses would not be so calm and composed in front of them. The beast-tamer King Guguju and the rest were indescribably shocked and flustered. If it happened once or twice it could still be considered a fluke. But 3 or 4 times, or even more, that was strength. Back in the beast-taming King Valley, beast-taming King Guguju and the others had thought that Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian were able to escape because of Yi Qianxian's strength. But this time, the mysterious masked man was no longer by the girl's side, but she was still calm in front of them. How could they convince themselves that this was just a fluke, Luo Qingtong's luck? Clearly, Luo Qingtong had some kind of mysterious power that allowed her to see through their strength and attacks. Previously, the appearance of those blood-red figures outside was not due to the treasure map, was it? In fact, it was all done by Luo Qingtong herself. Thinking of this, the beast-tamer King Guguju and the others were even more shocked. This woman must not be allowed to live. The beast-tamer King Guguju's expression was extremely dark and ruthless. If it was said that he already had a strong desire to kill Luo Qingtong before, then at this moment, the desire to kill Luo Qingtong in his heart had increased exponentially. He watched as Luo Qingtong's figure moved in mid-air, dodging their attacks one by one. His expression was cold to the extreme. So what if this woman dodged all their attacks? Chapter 2092. He wanted to see how Luo Qingtong would die miserably. He didn't believe that she would be able to escape from the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse. If that was the case, then Luo Qingtong wouldn't have needed to run, and she wouldn't have needed to use them to block the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse. Beast Tamer King Guguju sneered. After Luo Qingtong dodged all the attacks in midair, she suddenly pulled the black package in her hand. Inside there must be the inheritance of the beast mark. And the latter was most likely the solution to the crisis she was facing. She bet that the person called Zhuge Shirsan wouldn't let the person who obtained his inheritance be killed by the Yin corpse he had transformed into. Therefore, by inheriting the beast mark, she would be able to stop the Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse from attacking her. Not good. Beast Tamer King Guguju, who was originally sneering and waiting to see how she would be torn apart by the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse, after seeing Luo Qingtong's actions, his expression instantly changed. He also thought that the package might contain a way for Luo Qingtong to avoid the Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse. Damn it, why didn't he think of this point before? Since this package was taken by Luo Qingtong from the depths of the cave, at the same time it was a treasure, it could also be a protective talisman to avoid the attacks of the Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse. But this couldn't be blamed on Beast Tamer King Guguju. Since Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed, they had been encountering a series of events. One after another they had to flee and chase. They were almost driven mad by Luo Qingtong. At this time, under their anger and resentment, naturally their thoughts weren't as agile as usual. Quickly grab that package. Don't let her open it. Beast Tamer King Guguju's expression was indescribably flustered and exasperated. At the same time he fiercely flew up, disregarding the possibility of crashing into the Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shirsan, and directly flew towards Luo Qingtong to grab her. However, Luo Qingtong had already dodged all their attacks and was in the air. If they attacked again, how could they catch up with the speed of Luo Qingtong opening the package? In the blink of an eye, Luo Qingtong opened the package in her arms. Shwa! When the black package was opened, a dazzling light blossomed from within. Then an indistinct shadow rose from within. It was a thought that Zhuge Shirsan had left in the package. My beast mark inheritance to the one who comes. I hope you can keep your promise and return my heaven and earth beast taming technique to my family. Otherwise, to suffer the pain to suffer the pain of the soul. Hopes to remember the promise of 10 years. As he spoke, the golden light accompanied the shadow and rushed towards Luo Qingtong's forehead. Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others heard the voice of the shadow in the air, and their hearts were filled with indescribable shock. Heaven-earth beast taming art? How domineering was the name of this art? And the clan? This was obviously the inheritance of the other party's clan. If Luo Qingtong obtained it, wouldn't it mean that Luo Qingtong would have an incomparably huge backer in the future? After all, no one knew how strong this man's clan was. The only thing they could be sure of was that the other party was from outside the region. In this way, no matter how strong the other party's clan was, they could easily crush their beast tamer King Valley. Chapter 2093. No way. They must not let Luo Qingtong succeed. She must die here. As beast tamer King Guguju and the others thought, they immediately attacked Luo Qingtong recklessly. However, it was too late. The golden light entered between Luo Qingtong's eyebrows in an instant. Driven by the golden light, the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge 13's corpse, which were originally pouncing on Luo Qingtong, suddenly retreated to the side when they were about to pounce on her. The attack was aimed at beast tamer King Guguju and the others, who were charging towards Luo Qingtong. Bang bang bang. Beast tamer King Guguju and the others were instantly sent flying by the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge 13. Puff puff puff. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and looked at Luo Qingtong's eyebrows in despair. The golden light was about to merge with her body. However, something that no one expected happened. Boom. When the golden light mixed with the illusory light rushed into Luo Qingtong's eyebrows, Luo Qingtong's mind instantly boiled. Then her forehead became scalding hot, and a hexagram mark rose up uncontrollably. In the next second, the golden light mixed with the illusory light was ejected from it. That's right, it was ejected. Luo Qingtong looked at the golden light and Zhuge 13's illusory light floating in front of her and was shocked. She raised her hand to touch her forehead and found that the hexagram mark on her forehead had appeared. This was the mark of the contract with Hengji, the mark of the heaven and earth contract. Could it be that those with the heaven and earth contract could not inherit this beast mark? Luo Qingtong looked at Zhuge 13's beast mark inheritance, which was about to rush into her mind but was ejected by the hexagram. Her lips twitched. It couldn't be that bad, right? Could it be that because the heaven and earth contract was authentic, it could not tolerate a pirated version of the beast mark inheritance? But if she couldn't inherit this beast mark, then she wouldn't be able to get out of this crisis. Seeing that the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge 13's Yin corpse had already avoided her. But now, because the golden light and Zhuge Shursan's shadow had been ejected, she no longer had the aura of the beast mark inheritance in her body. The 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse looked at her again. A Yin corpse beast crushed the sternum of a beast-taming King's Valley expert, then turned around and roared at her. With a leap, he charged towards her. The other 3 Yin corpse beasts were the same. Not to mention Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse. After a shriek, it grabbed at Luo Qingtong. His attacks were even more ferocious than when he faced beast tamer King Guguju and the others. Because those who couldn't obtain the beast mark inheritance didn't want to fulfill the agreement with Zhuge 13, they deserved to be killed. Only God knew that Luo Qingtong couldn't inherit the beast mark because she had the heaven and earth contract. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. At this moment, beast tamer King Guguju and the others cried out in surprise and rushed towards the golden light floating in the air. That was the true inheritance in the depths of the cave. With it, they would receive unparalleled help. Chapter 2094. Haha. Luo Qingtong, I didn't think that you wouldn't be able to get the recognition of this distinguished one. This is too funny. Beast tamer King Guguju laughed loudly. He was just about to lose all hope. He didn't think that there would be a silver lining. Luo Qingtong wouldn't be able to fuse with that golden light. Now this opportunity belonged to their beast tamer King Valley. Beast tamer King Guguju's heart was filled with unspeakable pride. He didn't know that Luo Qingtong was able to repel that golden light because of the heaven and earth contract. He thought that Luo Qingtong wasn't able to get the recognition of that golden shadow. Luo Qingtong looked at the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse rushing towards her. Her eyes suddenly narrowed. If she couldn't get the beast mark inheritance, how could she get out of this dangerous situation? No matter what, she couldn't let the people of Beast Tamer King Valley get the beast mark inheritance. Not to mention, the beast mark inheritance seemed to be the only key to escape from these Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses. What should she do? Luo Qingtong's hand reached out and grabbed the golden light into her hand. That ball of golden light was still persistently trying to hit her forehead. This heaven and earth beast taming art was modified by Zhuge Shursan according to the heaven and earth contract. Just now, he felt the pure aura of the heaven and earth contract on Luo Qingtong's forehead, so naturally it wanted to enter her body. Moreover, Luo Qingtong was the one who got the black package, so naturally she was the inheritor recognized by Zhuge Shursan's remnant consciousness. But the heaven and earth contract in Luo Qingtong's body was extremely overbearing. It simply didn't allow the inferior beast mark inheritance to coexist with it in Luo Qingtong's body. That's right. From the heaven and earth contract's point of view, the beast mark inheritance that only received a part of the heaven and earth contract's effect was only inferior. How could it coexist with it in Luo Qingtong's body? When Luo Qingtong caught the golden light in her hands, the latter was still struggling with all its might. At this moment, Luo Qingtong had already stood up. Bang bang bang. Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others who were charging towards her collided with the 4 Yin Corpse beasts and Zhuge 13. In the blink of an eye, a few more screams rang out as more of the Beast Taming King's Valley's disciples died. Bastard. Seeing that Luo Qingtong had once again dodged their attacks, Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others clenched their teeth in anger. That be *tc. If it wasn't for the 4 Yin Corpse beasts and the Yin Corpse being a hindrance, with their strength and numbers, they could have easily killed her. Even if she had a strange ability that allowed her to see through their movements, how could she have enough strength to deal with them when surrounded? But these 4 Yin Corpse beasts and that Yin Corpse, made their hands and feet tied, they had no choice but to divert their attention to deal with them. They gave this *tch a chance for no reason. Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu was extremely angry, but he still managed to maintain his rationality. Continue to charge. I don't believe that she can keep dodging. This *tch's ability must have a flaw. Not to mention other things, it definitely wouldn't last long. He wanted to see where she could hide. Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu's guess was right. Luo Qingtong's eye technique relied on spiritual power to maintain. The young girl had lived 2 lives and cultivated spiritual power. Her spiritual power was naturally many times stronger than normal people. Chapter 2095. If this continued, the first to collapse would be Luo Qingtong. She had to think of a solution. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. She took advantage of the collision between Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu and the Yin Corpses to escape. When she saw the giant blood-colored shadow rushing towards her, she immediately frowned. At this moment, Little Pig's voice rang out. Here, here. Let her inherit it. As he spoke, he had the great Yong Saint's corpse puppet grab Yunxi and rush in front of Luo Qingtong. One person and one corpse had been standing in a corner, watching the fierce battle between Luo Qingtong and Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu and the Yin Corpses. Seeing that Luo Qingtong was unable to absorb the golden light inheritance, Little Pig suddenly patted his head with his little hoof. Oh, I forgot that she has the Heaven and Earth contract. The Heaven and Earth contract was already the highest Beast Tamer contract in the world. How could it allow other Beast Tamer arts to be in Luo Qingtong's body? Not to mention that she had to inherit the other party's beast mark. Obviously, the Heaven and Earth contract wasn't happy, so it ejected the beast mark inheritance. What should they do now? Little Pig frowned. At this moment, his gaze swept over to Yunxi. She was looking at Luo Qingtong with a nervous expression. Yunxi didn't know what the golden light inheritance was, but based on the current situation, it must be what the Beast Tamer King's Valley wanted. And Luo Qingtong was being chased by both parties because she failed to integrate the golden light inheritance. Coupled with the giant blood-colored shadow roaring and rushing towards her, her situation could be said to be extremely dangerous. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong's blood eyes and the blood-colored shadow Yin Corpses and Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu's group restraining each other, they would have formed a delicate balance. She would have already suffered a calamity. Just as Beast Tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others could think that Luo Qingtong's blood eyes couldn't last long, Yunxi could also think of this point. Her palms were sweaty from the pinching. Luo Qingtong had saved her several times and always kept her by her side to protect her. Although Luo Qingtong didn't think much of it, Yunxi was very grateful to her. Without Luo Qingtong with her strength, she definitely wouldn't be able to survive. Now that she saw Luo Qingtong in danger, she was naturally very worried. If possible, she didn't want something bad to happen to Luo Qingtong. But she didn't have any ability. She didn't have any strength. Just as Yunxi was feeling anxious and uncomfortable, Little Pig's voice suddenly rang in her ear. Yunxi was taken aback for a moment. Are you willing? Little Pig hated that he couldn't immediately capture Yunxi and bring her to Luo Qingtong so that she could inherit the beast mark inheritance. In any case, this person was saved by Luo Qingtong. Letting her inherit the beast mark inheritance was better than letting those people from Beast Tamer King's Valley take advantage of it. Moreover, Luo Qingtong had to rely on the beast mark inheritance to get out of danger. Naturally, it couldn't fall into the hands of others. Fortunately, Luo Qingtong protected this girl. Otherwise, if Luo Qingtong couldn't inherit the beast mark inheritance, it would be troublesome. Little Pig rejoiced in his heart. However, he didn't act impulsively. Chapter 2096. Partner? Meh. Yunxi murmured. She looked at Luo Qingtong, who was dodging the attacks of beast tamer King Guguju and the Yin corpse beast, and nodded her head. I'm willing. She was naturally willing to become Luo Qingtong's subordinate and partner. Being able to stand together with this girl, the life she would be able to enjoy in the future would definitely be exciting and magnificent, right? Not to mention, the reason she was still standing here was all thanks to Luo Qingtong. Okay. After Little Pig said this, he nodded his head and said to Yunxi, then you should make the vow right now. No matter what, I won't attack my master or the people around her in the future. Since he was going to give the inheritance to Yunxi, Little Pig naturally had to guarantee that she wouldn't harm Luo Qingtong or the people around her in the future. Otherwise, if he taught an ingrate, it would be even more disgusting than giving the inheritance to someone from Beast Tamer King's Valley. Little Pig naturally had to put an end to this. Yunxi made the vow without hesitation. At this moment, the situation on Luo Qingtong's side became even more critical. After she made the vow, Little Pig immediately had the Great Yong Saint's corpse puppet bring her to Luo Qingtong. That was why the scene above happened. Yunxi? Luo Qingtong looked at the Great Yong Saint's corpse puppet rushing to her and didn't say anything. She directly raised her hand and poured the golden light in her hand into Yunxi's forehead. Yunxi was the only person she could entrust the inheritance of the beast mark to. When she heard Little Pig's voice, she already thought of Yunxi and was about to rush over. She didn't expect Hum to send her over. Whoosh! Luo Qingtong pressed the golden light between Yunxi's eyebrows. Before the latter could react, the golden light entered her mind. Buzz! Many things instantly appeared in Yunxi's mind. That was the inheritance of the Zhuge 13 beast seal's usage and cultivation experience. When the golden light of the beast mark inheritance entered between Yunxi's eyebrows, Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, who had just escaped the attacks of the Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses, were instantly enraged. Not good. Damn it, how could they forget about this girl? Seeing the golden light flickering between Yunxi's eyebrows, the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others almost fainted from anger. Previously, Yunxi and Little Pig, the corpse puppet of the Great Yong Saint, had been standing in a corner, completely inconspicuous. After Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others rushed out from the depths of the cave, their attention was always on Luo Qingtong. They were furious with Luo Qingtong. She had completely forgotten that there was a weak girl by her side. If it had been before, even if they had discovered Yunxi, they would have been dismissive. After all, what was the use of such a weak girl? They could casually crush her to death with a finger. She wouldn't be a threat to them at all. But this time it was different. Luo Qingtong couldn't accept the golden light inheritance. As long as they dragged it on, that thing would definitely belong to them. But now, all of this was destroyed by the girl by Luo Qingtong's side. If there was someone by Luo Qingtong's side who could inherit the beast mark inheritance, what could they do? Drag Luo Qingtong to death? It would be good enough if they weren't the ones killed. Chapter 2097. Quick. Let's go. At first, they wanted to rush forward and kill Yunxi with all their might. In this way, wouldn't the beast mark inheritance become an ownerless object again? They didn't believe that Luo Qingtong's strange ability could protect herself and the weak girl from their hands. However, as soon as they thought of this, they felt gusts of chilly wind coming from behind them. Quick. Let's go. The beast tamer King Guguju's voice was hoarse. He turned around and saw that the 4 Yin corpse beasts who were about to rush toward Luo Qingtong after they got rid of them, suddenly turned around and rushed toward them. And so did Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse. The beast tamer King Guguju and the others had already tasted the power of the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse in the depths of the cave. If the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse hadn't been staring at Luo Qingtong and ignored them, they wouldn't have dared to stay and snatch the golden light inheritance from Luo Qingtong's hands. Obviously, after Yunxi inherited the golden light inheritance and obtained the beast mark, the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse began to protect her. This was indeed the case. Zhuge Shursan wanted the person who obtained his inheritance to bring the universal beast-taming spell back to the Zhuge family. Naturally, he wouldn't allow anyone to harm his successor. Before the other party obtained the inheritance, he didn't care how they injured or killed him. But after obtaining the inheritance, he wouldn't allow anyone to snatch it. Because the beast mark could only be passed on once, It could only be passed on to someone like him, who had cultivated to a certain level and was very familiar with the universal beast-taming spell. If he allowed someone to kill his successor, how could his beast-taming spell be sent back to the family? Therefore, before he died, he had already taken care of his body and the bodies of the 4 contracted beasts. He wanted to ensure that his successor wouldn't be coveted and hunted after obtaining his beast mark inheritance. Roar! After Yunshi received the golden light, the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse immediately turned around and rushed toward beast tamer King Guguju and the others. They could sense the murderous intent of the other party towards Yunshi, so they naturally wanted to kill him to prevent him from harming Yunshi. As for beast tamer King Guguju and the others, when they saw the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses charging over, their hearts were filled with shock and anger, but there was nothing else they could do. Under the protection of the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses, it was impossible for them to harm Luo Qingtong and Yunshi. He might even be killed by the other party. Seeing that Yunshi had already opened her eyes and was beginning to command the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpses to work together with them, beast tamer King Guguju and the others did not dare to stay any longer. Even if they hated him so much that their blood was about to drip, they could only grit their teeth and leave. After all, although the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse were strong, they were still fighting for themselves. But now, under Yunshi's command, they had begun to cooperate with each other. In this way the combat power of the 5 beasts suddenly soared. How could beast tamer King Guguju and the others be a match for them? Not to mention that there was also Luo Qingtong the evildoer here. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's magical ability that seemed to be able to see through their movements, beast tamer King Guguju and the others felt a chill in their hearts. Chapter 2098. Everyone shuddered at the thought. Then they hurriedly rushed towards the entrance of the cave. However, whatever they could think of, Luo Qingtong could naturally think of as well. Seeing that the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse all turned and rushed toward the beast tamer King Guguju and the others, Luo Qingtong sneered. The beast mark inheritance, as she had thought, could dispel the attacks from the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpses. The man called Zhuge Shursan would not allow his successor to be threatened. Then they would play slowly. Can position. Seeing that Yunshi had not only dispelled the attacks of the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpses, but could even control their movements, Luo Qingtong's lips suddenly curled into an evil and cold smile. She had always been the most vengeful person. Didn't the beast tamer King Guguju and the others have fun besieging her just now? She would make them feel even better in a while. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, and her eyes were cold. And Yunshi, the moment Luo Qingtong opened her mouth, she had already understood her intention, and immediately commanded a Yin corpse beast to jump to the position Luo Qingtong had said. There happened to be a high-level member of the Beast Tamer King Valley there, and it was none other than the person who had fought with Luo Qingtong several times before. In the Beast Tamer King Valley, he had almost used the superior orchid Sirius to expose Su Yu and the others. It was because he had brought the superior orchid Sirius that a series of events had happened. Fang Jingyu's contracted beasts had rioted, and then Luo Qingtong had pretended to expose her beast tamer talent. After that, she had entered the beast garden and finally obtained the whereabouts of the book. She had taken the opportunity to enter the forbidden area of the Beast Tamer King Valley and read the holy book. Speaking of which, Luo Qingtong had to thank him. If it weren't for his mistake, Luo Qingtong might not have found the whereabouts of the holy book. Not to mention the news of Luo Jinghong. At this moment she would naturally thank him properly. Roar! When the Yin corpse beast jumped over, the Grand Elder just happened to attack another Yin corpse beast on the side. Just as he blasted out this move, the Yin corpse beast jumped in front of him. At this moment he had no time to counterattack, let alone block it. Ah! With a blood-curdling scream, the Supreme Elder's figure instantly disappeared into the mouth of the Yin corpse beast. His upper body was being chewed by the Yin corpse beast, while his lower body was still standing in place. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. There were so many people in the Beast Tamer King's Valley, but they were either in the middle of attacking or had just finished using their moves. The chi in their bodies had yet to be regenerated. There were so many people, yet not a single one of them managed to save him in time. His grasp of timing was simply terrifying. Supreme Elder. Seeing this, the Beast Tamer King Guguju's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. His eyes were wide open. His eye sockets looked as if they were about to burst open, as they were slightly bloodshot. He clenched his teeth so hard that his mouth was full of blood. Bitch. The Beast Tamer King Guguju looked at Luo Qingtong with resentment. He was joining forces with the Dark Elder and others to resist the Corpse beast of Zhuge. Who would have thought that when he turned around he would see the Supreme Elder die so miserably? The girl just glanced at him indifferently and continued to give orders to Yunxi. Gung position. Heaven position. Chapter 2099. It was already hard for them to defend against the attacks of the Corpse beasts and corpses. At this moment, under Luo Qingtong's command and guidance, the attacks of the Corpse beasts and corpses were even harder to defend against. Not to mention anything else, when faced with the attacks of the Corpse beasts and corpses, it was impossible for them to not fight back at all, right? But under Luo Qingtong's guidance, their counterattack, which was meant to resist and survive, became their own death sentence. After each attack was launched, there would always be a moment when the old energy was released, before the new energy could be generated. At the same time, it was very hard to change moves. Originally, with the strength of the beast-taming King's Valley's higher-ups, this moment was just a moment, it would not affect their following attacks and movements. But at this moment, under Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes, this moment of stagnation and the time when the old energy and new energy were exchanged became their fatal flaw. Others would not be able to seize this moment. It was even more impossible for them to successfully kill each other with so many people guarding against each other. But Luo Qingtong could. Under her guidance, those beast-taming King's Valley people did not make a move. Once they made a move, there was a chance that the girl would seize the opportunity and order the Corpse beasts and corpses to kill them. Every time Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, a beast-taming King's Valley high-ups would die with a blood-curdling scream. The girl's clear and melodious voice in their ears was like the voice of the King of Hell taking their lives. It was as terrifying as the voice of the King of Hell. In this kind of situation, beast-taming King Guguju and the others did not even talk about running out of the cave. Even taking a step forward was extremely dangerous. From here to the cave entrance, it was clearly only a few dozen meters away. If it was a normal time, they would have rushed out in a flash. But at this moment, under Luo Qingtong's clear and melodious voice, it was as if they were walking on a road of no return to the Yellow Springs. They were afraid that before they could reach the cave entrance, they would all die here. Beast-tamer King Guguju was shocked, while Luo Qingtong took the opportunity to kill the main body of the blood-colored figure. Without anyone's interference, Luo Qingtong rushed to the place where the giant crimson figure's body was and destroyed it. The process was simply too smooth. This also saved Yunxi the trouble of having to deal with this giant blood-colored figure while controlling the 4 Corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's corpse to kill the people of the beast-taming King's Valley. This would give the people of the beast-taming King's Valley a chance to escape. Today she was going to kill everyone from the beast-taming King's Valley. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. Her sword turned into a blade and stabbed into the ground where the giant bloody figure was, shattering the giant bloody immortal jade bone. Bang! When Luo Qingtong's sword slammed into the ground, the gigantic blood-red figure suddenly felt a huge threat descending upon it. It turned out that the girl had already seen through the location of its main body, and was only waiting to kill it with one strike. After a shrill cry, the giant bloody figure rushed toward Luo Qingtong at lightning speed, almost berserk. However, it was already too late. Luo Qingtong directly pierced through its main body with her sword. When the blood-colored immortal jade bone buried deep underground crumbled, the giant blood-colored figure also exploded in midair. It did not even have time to touch Luo Qingtong before it exploded into blood under Luo Qingtong's sword. Chapter 2100. Luo Qingtong's eyes were indifferent as she looked coldly at the beast-tamer King Guguju and the others who were trapped in the cave by the Corpse beasts and the corpses. The latter and the others were also attracted by the sudden explosion of the gigantic blood-red figure. They raised their heads and looked over. With this look, their hearts became even more terrified. Luo Qingtong had already killed the giant crimson figure. Then wouldn't she be able to deal with them with all her strength? Seeing that the cave entrance was close at hand, they couldn't break through the encirclement of the 4 Corpse beasts and the corpses. Deep despair surged in the hearts of the beast-tamer King Guguju and the others. But soon, the eyes of the beast-tamer King Guguju were dyed with deep fierceness and viciousness. Celestial Palace Master, you people of Celestial Palace said that you would help our beast-tamer King's Valley. Now please help us to the end. Help us to the end. His face was malevolent and twisted as he looked at the pale and frightened master of Celestial Palace beside him. The latter and the others had been hiding behind the people of beast-tamer King's Valley. Facing the 4 Corpse beasts and the corpses, The people of Celestial Palace were only from a second-class sect. The strongest among them was only in the Holy Spirit realm. Since the awakening of the 4 corpse beasts and the corpses, they had been hiding behind the people of Beast Tamer King's Valley with pale and frightened faces. Fortunately, the 4 corpse beasts and the corpses had locked onto the powerful people of Beast Tamer King's Valley first, so they could barely escape. Hearing the words of the Beast Tamer King Guguju, the hearts of the Celestial Palace Master and the others were filled with indescribable fear. Looking at the malevolent face of the Beast Tamer King Guguju, they couldn't help but ask in a stern voice, "Beast Tamer King Guguju, what do you mean by this?" The voice of the Celestial Palace Master was sharp and resounding. "We from Celestial Palace are here to help you guys from Beast Taming King's Valley. What are you trying to do?" The Master of Celestial Palace felt an indescribable fear. He didn't know why, but he felt that Beast Tamer King Guguju's words weren't as simple as they seemed. It was as if he wanted to do something to the people of Celestial Palace. Beast Tamer King Guguju's following words confirmed his thoughts. "What do you want?" The Beast Tamer King Guguju's expression was sinister and fierce. "Naturally, I'm borrowing your lives. Celestial Palace Master, since you came to help our Beast Taming King's Valley, I'm sure you won't be stingy, right?" Beast Tamer King Guguju sneered. To help them? The words of the Master of Celestial Palace were simply ridiculous. Wasn't it because they promised benefits that the people of Celestial Palace agreed to help? What's more, from the moment they faced the giant blood shadow outside, the people of Celestial Palace weren't of any use. Not to mention when they faced the 4 corpse beasts and the corpse. It was the people of Beast Taming King's Valley who stood at the front and gave them a chance to live. Now it was time for them to pay back their lives. Beast Tamer King Guguju thought about it and suddenly smiled sinisterly. He then said to his subordinates of Beast Taming King's Valley, "Throw them out for me. Let them block the 4 corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's corpse." Although the people of Celestial Palace weren't strong enough to deal with the 4 corpse beasts and the corpse. Chapter 2101. As long as they were alive it would be fine. As long as the people of Celestial Palace blocked the 4 corpse beasts and the corpse for a while, the people of Beast Taming King's Valley would be able to escape. Once they were outside the valley, he would Luo Qingtong and the others would be in big trouble. Beast Taming King Guguju's voice was bloodthirsty. But when the people of Celestial Palace heard his words, they almost fell to the ground. "Beast Taming King Guguju, you can't do this. We are from the Star Alliance Palace. We have the backing of the Star Alliance Palace, you can't just ignore us." The people of Celestial Palace were so scared that they even mentioned the name of the Star Alliance Palace. However, Beast Taming King Guguju had already made up his mind to send them to their deaths. How could he be moved by their words? Not to mention, the Star Alliance Palace? Beast Taming King Guguju sneered. "You will enter the Broken Star Valley with us and deal with this Luo Qingtong together. If you die here, what does it have to do with us?" As he spoke, the smile on his face became more and more ferocious. All of this was done by Luo Qingtong. "And if you die, the people of Beast Taming King's Valley will be very sad. Don't worry. We will definitely tell the people of the Star Alliance Palace about this and kill Luo Qingtong to avenge you." In fact, the people of Celestial Palace didn't know that Beast Taming King Guguju and the others had this idea from the very beginning. They exposed the existence of the Broken Star Valley to attract people from other forces to be cannon fodder. Not only did they not want those people to live, but they also didn't want the people of Celestial Palace to live. Once they got their hands on it, they would kill everyone in the valley except for the Beast Taming King's Valley. While completely concealing the fact that their Beast Taming King's Valley had obtained the inheritance, they also wanted to push this matter onto Luo Qingtong. She had become the target of all the sects in the hidden world. In this way they could legitimately join forces with the other sects in the land of the deceased immortals to kill Luo Qingtong, forcing her to hand over the treasure map. At that time, even if Luo Qingtong had the protection of a first-class sect like the Heavenly Yuan sect, it would be of no use. However, before they could carry out their plan, Luo Qingtong had come to the Broken Stars Valley with those people. Not only did it shatter their plans, it also forced them into a life-and-death situation. Under such circumstances, the people of Celestial Palace still wanted to use the people of Star Alliance to suppress them in exchange for a chance to survive. How ridiculous was this? Even without Luo Qingtong they would still die. Only the people of Celestial Palace would be stupid enough to think that the people of beast-taming King's Valley were really prepared to use benefits in exchange for a chance to help. It was simply ridiculous. They would die here without any evidence. Who could say that they killed them? Luo Qingtong? Would the people of Star Alliance believe her words? These idiots of Celestial Palace. The words of beast-taming King Gu Guzhu made the faces of the people of Celestial Palace pale. At this moment they finally understood the situation they were in. There was no way for them to survive. The people of beast-taming King's Valley didn't plan to let them live from the beginning. They even thought of what they would say to the outside world after their deaths. These bastards. The voice of the Celestial Palace Master was sharp and desperate. Chapter 2102. Ah. After he screamed, he was kicked out of the group by the beast-tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others. The rest of the Celestial Palace people did the same. Even if they begged and pleaded, the beast-tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others were not moved at all. They could only live if they lost the people of Celestial Palace. Go! After kicking out the people of Celestial Palace and letting them face the 4 corpse beasts and corpses, the beast-tamer King Gu Guzhu ordered. In an instant, the people of Beast-Tamer Valley rushed out of the cave. Seeing this, Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. She waved the life and death sword in her hand and was about to rush out. At this moment, Yunxi stopped her. Don't chase after them. There is a time limit to controlling these corpses and corpse beasts. Yunxi's forehead and hands were full of sweat. First, it took a lot of effort to control these corpse beasts and corpses. Second, only she knew in her heart that although Zhuge Shursan had done something to the corpses of his contracted beasts and himself, he was too powerful. After transforming into corpses, his strength would only increase gradually. At that time he might be able to get rid of the arrangements he had left behind. Therefore, in order to eliminate this hidden danger, he set a time limit to control them. He let his corpses and contracted beasts' corpses self-destruct after protecting his successor during this period of time. At this moment there was not much time left. It could be said that Yunxi was completely under great psychological pressure to control the 4 corpse beasts and corpses to attack. She was afraid that before the people of Beast-Tamer Valley died, the 4 corpse beasts and corpses would self-destruct first. Fortunately, the people of Beast-Tamer Valley ran away. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong stopped in her tracks. She looked at Yunxi and the corners of her lips curled up. She smiled at her and said, "Well done." Luo Qingtong did not know that there was a time limit to controlling these corpse beasts and corpses. But thinking about it, it was normal. The corpse puppets of the great Yong saints could continuously increase their strength in the land of the fallen immortals, so Zhuge Shursan's corpse must be the same. He was powerful to begin with. The moment he transformed into a Holy Venerable Realm corpse, he could even use the power of the Holy Venerable Realm. If it were to improve further, with Yunxi's strength, she might not be able to restrain it. Since Zhuge Shursan wanted his successor to bring his beast-taming spell back to the family, it was normal for him to set a time limit without knowing the strength of the person. Otherwise, it would be hilarious if his successor was killed by his own corpse. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong immediately put away the life and death yin-yang sword in her hand, turned around and rushed back into the cave. The Celestial Palace Master, who was being held in the mouth of a corpse beast, heard the conversation between Luo Qingtong and Yunxi. He was so angry that he couldn't even catch his breath. He died of anger just like that. So these 4 corpse beasts and the corpse had a time limit. If Beast-Tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others had held on for a little longer, they might have been able to hold on until the corpse and the corpse beasts collapsed. But they ran away. They even caused him and the others to die here for no reason. Those bastards of Beast-Tamer Valley. His eyes were wide open. He really died with remaining grievances. Beast-Tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others rushed out of the cave. Looking at the huge cave behind them, Beast-Tamer King Gu Guzhu shouted, "Quick! Let's destroy this cave." Chapter 2103. His face was full of resentment. Luo Qingtong, that bitch, actually forced them into such an embarrassing situation. But she didn't expect that they would escape in the end, right? Now, it was their turn to let her die without a burial place. She would be buried together with the beast mark inheritance. Of course, this was also to prevent the 4 corpse beasts and corpses from chasing them out. Yes. The higher-ups of the beast-taming King's Valley hurriedly responded. They naturally knew the consequences of the 4 corpse beasts and corpses chasing them out. Although they had already escaped from the cave, they would be fine as long as they got out of the valley. But who knew how many people would die in the process? That Luo Qingtong was really their nemesis. They couldn't let her chase them out. Thinking of this, they immediately turned back and directly bombarded the mountain at the top of the cave with tyrannical attacks. Rumble. Under their attacks, the mountain at the top of the cave shook. Then, with a boom, it suddenly collapsed. Gravel splashed and boulders crashed. In an instant, it was as if the sky was falling and the earth was rending. In the cave, Luo Qingtong put away her sword and walked in the direction of Yunxi. She was about to ask Yunxi if there was any other way out of the cave besides the entrance. After all, the Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses had a limited time, so they naturally couldn't go out from the entrance of the cave or even the entrance of the Broken Star Valley. But they couldn't stay in the cave for a long time. If they didn't see them chase out, the people of the beast-taming King's Valley would inevitably be suspicious. Luo Qingtong believed that since the man named Zhuge Shursan set the time limit for the Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses, he must have considered how his inheritor could leave. Otherwise, what if his successor was robbed and killed when he left the valley? Since the other party wanted his inheritor to bring back his beast-taming incantation, it was impossible that he didn't take this precaution. However, before she could speak, she heard a loud bang above her head. Then soil and stones fell like a torrent. The boulders above collapsed and rolled down. In an instant, the top of the cave shook and was about to collapse. What was going on? Luo Qingtong's face froze. She looked at Yunxi. She didn't know if this was a sign that the inheritance of the cave had been inherited or some other reason. As for Yunxi, when the ceiling of the cave shook for a while, the expression on her face suddenly froze. This isn't the content of the cave legacy. The man named Zhuge Shursan did not mention this in the inheritance. She hurriedly said to Luo Qingtong. Then he pulled Luo Qingtong's sleeve and said to her, "Quick, follow me. There's a secret passage here." Just as Luo Qingtong thought, the man named Zhuge Shursan had already left a way out. Yunxi pulled Luo Qingtong along as they ran into the depths of the cave. The 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses protected them on their left and right. He led them into the depths of the cave. Coupled with Luo Qingtong's blood pupil, she could always find the safest path in the most critical moment. The group of people reached the depths of the cave without any danger. Then Yunxi lifted the place where the man named Zhuge Shursan had passed away. There was a cave under the cattail hassock. It was covered by a force. Yunxi pressed her hand on it. Chapter 2104. Feeling the power of the beast mark inheritance, the power covering the cave instantly disappeared, revealing the dark cave entrance. Let's go. Yunshi directly pulled Luo Qingtong and jumped into the cave. When they jumped down, the rocks and soil at the top of the cave also collapsed with a loud rumble. Rumble. The entire cave was covered by the collapsed rocks and soil. The 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse didn't have time to enter the cave. In the landslide, they were instantly submerged by the rocks and soil that came down from above. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold as she looked at the mud and rocks flowing down from the entrance of the cave. She pulled Yunshi and dashed toward the front of the tunnel. This tunnel wasn't a straight line but a curve. Luo Qingtong rushed forward nearly 100 meters with Yunshi. The mud and rocks that suddenly poured and stopped not far behind them. Yunshi's face was pale. Looking at the mud and rocks that stopped not far away from them, she suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. The scene just now was really too thrilling. This must be the work of those people from the beast-taming King's Valley. She gritted her teeth. If she had known, she wouldn't have stopped Luo Qingtong from chasing after them. Not only that, she should have also sent out the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpse to scare away those people from the beast-taming King's Valley. Then this kind of thing wouldn't have happened. Fortunately, that person called Zhuge Shursan had left a secret passage. Otherwise, wouldn't she have killed herself and Luo Qingtong here? It's okay. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. They won't be able to jump around for long. When they got out of the land of the deceased immortals, she would let those people from the beast-taming King's Valley know what despair was. Here they could be arrogant for a while. Luo Qingtong snorted coldly and hid the bloodthirsty color in her eyes. At this time Yunshi covered her mouth and looked at her and exclaimed, "Qingtong, your little pig." Only then did Yunshi realize that the little pig and the corpse puppet were no longer beside Luo Qingtong. Could it be, thinking that Luo Qingtong's pet had met with an accident because of her, Yunshi's eyes were filled with guilt and she was almost about to cry. Only then did Luo Qingtong remember that she had put little pig and the zombie into the 9-story exquisite pagoda at the critical moment. She immediately raised her hand and released them. "They're fine." Yunshi's expression. When little pig came out, he immediately patted his chest with a face full of lingering fear. "Oh my God, I was really scared to death just now." It shook off the dust on its body. It had almost been buried alive. The corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint also appeared in front of Luo Qingtong. Seeing this scene, Yunshi immediately felt relieved. Fortunately, they're fine. Otherwise, she would have really let Luo Qingtong down. Yunshi didn't expect that at that time. She had only considered that the Yin corpse and the Yin corpse beast couldn't be controlled for long. She was afraid that the people of the beast-tamer King's Valley would find out, so she didn't let Luo Qingtong chase after them. In the end, they almost got themselves killed. Thinking of this, she still felt a lingering fear in her heart. "Okay." Luo Qingtong nodded. She looked around, then asked Yunshi, "Do you know where this secret passage leads?" "No." Yunshi shook her head. "The inheritance of Zhuge Shursan only told me that I could leave by going this way." Luo Qingtong frowned when she heard that. There were 2 meanings of leaving. One was to leave the Shattered Star Valley. The other was to leave the land of the deceased immortals. It would be fine if it was the first one, but if it was the second one, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. She still had the treasure map that she hadn't checked yet. It would be a loss if she just left like this. Chapter 2105. Rumble. Outside, there was another violent tremor as if the sky and earth were spinning. Even through the thick underground and piles of dirt, Luo Qingtong could clearly feel the tremors outside. What? The beast-taming valley was still bombarding? Were they afraid that she wasn't dead yet? However, Luo Qingtong didn't know that this tremor wasn't caused by the beast-taming valley at all. Outside, the beast-taming valley's people were floating above the ruins of the cave. They sneered as they looked at the pile of dirt and rubble that covered the original location of the cave. Under this kind of collapse, not to mention that Luo Qingtong was only a saint emperor, even the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses wouldn't be spared. Bitch, did she think that she could do whatever she wanted just because she obtained the inheritance inside? Since they couldn't obtain it, they'd rather destroy it. The beast-taming King Guguju's face was twisted like a ghost's. He was both angry and sneering. It made one's hair stand on end. He looked at the pile of collapsed ruins and was about to order the upper echelons of the beast-taming King Valley around him to clean up the huge rock fragments to see if Luo Qingtong and the others' bodies were among them. However, at this moment, a series of tremors came from outside. In the sky, a gust of wind and clouds surged. The black fog in the entire land of the fallen immortals suddenly stirred violently in the midst of the tremors. The black vortexes that formed were filled with a terrifying corrosive aura, enough to kill anyone wearing the immortal Jade Bones aura. The entire land of the fallen immortals changed greatly. This is... The beast-taming King Guguju and the others looked in the direction of the tremors with shock. It was the center of the land of the fallen immortals. Is it the forbidden area? Ah! Is there some movement from the treasure in the forbidden area? The beast-taming King Guguju and the others were wild with joy. They couldn't care less about the rubble and the possible corpse of Luo Qingtong in it. They immediately rushed out of the valley. The crimson shadows that were 100 meters away from the depths of the Shattered Star Valley could no longer hinder their movements. After all, the surviving higher-ups of the beast-taming King's Valley were all top-notch experts of the valley. If they hadn't been worried about the safety of their disciples, they wouldn't have been so embarrassed by the crimson shadows in the valley. They didn't have any burdens by their side. The attacks of the crimson phantoms were useless against them. Soon they flew out of the Broken Star Valley. Golden-winged rock. Beast-taming King Gu and the others shouted. They were afraid of the crimson shadows' attacks on strange attacks. And the beast-taming valley. And the beast-taming valley's contract beasts. Of course, most of the contracted beasts had regained their freedom due to the deaths of the beast-tamer King's Valley disciples. There was no trace of them at the moment. On the other hand, the beast-taming King Valley Master and the others had summoned their own contracted beasts. The beast-taming Rock and the others struggled, but they couldn't break free from the control of Guguju and the others. They could only obey their orders and fly over. Chapter 2106. Beast-tamer King Guguju sneered. Looking at the struggling look in the eyes of the golden-winged rock and the other demonic beasts, how could he not know that they actually wanted to break free from their control? Unfortunately, that bitch Luo Qingtong was dead. And the girl who obtained the beast-tamer inheritance in the Broken Star Valley was also dead. They would never be able to break free from their servitude in this lifetime. Not only that, when beast-tamer King Guguju and the others rushed into the depths of the cave, they also saw the contents of the fifth beast-tamer incantation carved on the cave wall. With their strength, they could remember it with a single glance. The contents of the beast-tamer incantation had already been engraved in their hearts with a single glance. Now, the golden-winged rock and the other demonic beasts should give up on breaking free from their control. Beast-tamer King Guguju sneered and raised his hand to form a seal. In an instant, that faintly discernible trace of clarity in the golden-winged rock's eyes was suppressed by him in the depths of his mind, unable to rise again. Not only that, after the seal was formed, beast tamer King Guguju's strength increased greatly, and he even vaguely felt that he had touched the level of the venerable realm. It turned out that after fusing with the 5th beast tamer incantation, he discovered a new way to use the seal, which allowed him to exchange strength with the golden-winged roc. As a demonic beast, the latter's strength was originally stronger than practitioners of the same level. Beast tamer King Guguju borrowed the power of the golden-winged roc. In an instant, the strength of the man and the beast increased by a level. The other higher-ups of Beast Tamer King Valley also followed suit and linked their strength with their contracted beasts, instantly increasing their strength by more than one-fold. Humph! Luo Qingtong, that bitch. The beast-taming King Valley's valley master gritted his teeth. If we hadn't left the golden-winged roc and the others outside, afraid that they wouldn't be able to resist the psychic attack of the blood-colored shadow, how could they have been beaten so badly by her? That bitch, fortunately she died early, otherwise I would definitely let her know what it means to beg for death but beg for life. Beast Tamer King Guguju's heart was filled with resentment and had nowhere to vent. If they had brought the golden-winged roc and the others in, they would definitely not have been unable to retaliate under Luo Qingtong's trap. But who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would appear? Not to mention that she had a way to deal with those blood-colored shadows. Otherwise, how could they have been forced to such a state? But now it didn't matter. Luo Qingtong was dead, and the beast-taming inheritance that was most likely on top of the 5 beast-taming spells that they had fused had been completely buried under the ruins. It's S's. But compared to killing Luo Qingtong, it was all worth it. Not to mention that they had already fused with the 5 beast-taming arts. The resistance of the golden-winged Great Peng and the others had all been disintegrated by them. Now that their strength had soared, the treasures in this forbidden zone were bound to be theirs. Let's go. Beast Tamer King Guguju sneered. He looked at the center of the fallen immortal land, where the winds and clouds were surging and the waves of heaven and earth were constantly erupting. He was extremely pleased. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.